there's a video and there's imagery of Mitch Marner screaming at his team, the bucket off, yelling at everybody, right? Like, let's go, like kind of wake up kind of thing, and sort of trying to show this emotion. You appreciate it.
That's
but then
good.
you look at social media, how many people are pointing out, you got dry hair. Like, like,
I mean,
where's the sweat, right?
Point.
You're screaming at him, what have you been doing? And it's like, man, you look like you are fresh as a daisy right now. We are back with another edition of the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by BODOG. We're your line mates, Sabalski, Razor, Kami. And hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on social, thank you so much. But just a friendly reminder, we are having every episode now. Yes, the magic of technology. I don't know what took so freaking long, but we are now on Apple and we are now on Spotify regularly each and every week, those podcasts. So if you're walking the dog or you're just trying to hide from the family in the washroom, you can listen to us nice and easy on your stroll, while you're puttering, on your commutes. So technology, boys, you can listen to us stereo in style and profile there, guys. How are you?
I'm doing good. I had an interesting weekend. I had fun watching the games, Dallas, Winnipeg, and then I got a little tuned up for did a little Moxies again, back-to-back Moxies for the old Leaf game. There was actually a lot of people, when you want to watch a hockey game down here, that's a pretty good spot to go. It's a Canadian chain, and they put the games on, and they were gonna. Well, if it wouldn't have been 4-0 right away, or if it wasn't such a blowout, they were gonna put the sound on, but by the time they got around to thinking of doing that, the game was over pretty much. But yeah, I had a good weekend, no doubt.
Razor, did you have a better weekend than a few teams?
Certainly more enjoyable than any of my Leaf buddies and my Leaf friends, especially them. The Winnipeg story was sad for all around, but you could see the writing on that wall. This Leaf one was just. It's just pure Leafs. It really is pure this group at this point. You couldn't dial it up any more painful for everybody. I just couldn't believe they did it again. I really couldn't.
That's the amazing. I'd say we are down to 4 teams, right? We're down to the final 4, the conference finals. We've got Edmonton and Dallas in the West. We've got the Canes and the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers going at it in the East. You teed it up there, Razor. Why don't we just dive in? Like, let's get some initial thoughts. There's a lot of different areas I want to go to on this one. We heard briefly from Razor, but Kami, give me your sense of what did you see in Toronto over the weekend? I mean, they get worked in game 5, 6-1, and they double down in game 7 and repeat that performance in front. I can't imagine how you do that when you've got a frenzied crowd of 20,000 people. You're going into battle and you got, let's go and get our freaking asses kicked.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you guys have looked at the comment section on our Leafs posts, but it is an interesting little. It went from game 5, they get blown out. We post that. There's comments there. They come back. I actually thought, well, to finish the comment part, game 6, they're torching you guys, and then after this they're back. They want to send Matthews to the Marlies. That was the last one I read. Anyways, I thought they were actually, like game 5, obviously you want to win the game, but if you're going to lose, when they were getting blown out, I'm like, I actually don't hate this if I'm a Leafs fan, and I did pick the Leafs, so I'm like, you know what, I don't hate this. You gotta usually come to play the next game. And sure enough, they win 2-0 in Florida. Everybody's fired up. You're going back home for game 7. And I was charged. I thought they were in a pretty good spot. They were in a pretty good spot if they weren't the Leafs. And what's happened, you're at home. It's game 7. Let's go. And I was sitting there at the bar at Moxie's. I had some Leaf fans behind me and a couple Florida fans too. And I'm watching that first 10, 12 minutes. And I'm like, I turned around to the Florida guys, or to the Leaf fans, I'm like, have you guys touched the puck yet? I'm like, I don't think you have. sure enough, it was like I heard this morning it was 25 shot attempts to 0, which like I don't even know. Has that even happened before? I'm not even sure. And then, at the end of the first period, they get it going a little bit. They get a couple chances. I'm like, okay, this is all right. Like, you weathered the storm. Now we go. And the second period started, and I mean, now we go. The ship sunk immediately. And that was just a straight up beatdown. At the end of the day, I'm sitting there watching. I'll be honest, the third period, I didn't pay a whole ton of attention.
Well,
but
it
like,
didn't matter.
I don't
Right.
want to like shit on the big guys and all that. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, you got to show up, and you guys touched on it. Like, this is it. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, I'm not watching specifically for them, but I'm like, I'm just watching the game. And I'm noticing the Florida guys, the Marchands. I'm noticing all of them. And then the Leafs, I'm just like, is Marner playing? I'm sure he is, but Matthews, I'm like, I don't even, Tavares, I didn't even. Anyways,
Well, hey, there's a moment that a lot of people look at, and there's a video and there's imagery of Mitch Marner screaming at his team, the bucket off, yelling at everybody, right? Like, let's go, like, kind of wake up kind of thing, and sort of trying to show this emotion. You appreciate it.
That's
but then
good.
you look at social media, how many people are pointing out, you got dry hair. It's like,
okay.
like,
I mean,
where's the sweat,
that's a good
right? Like,
point,
you're
yeah.
screaming at, what have you been doing? And it's like, man, you look like you are fresh as a daisy right now.
Yeah.
Mitch Marner just can't win.
you know he can't.
No.
And that's I'm not even, those guys can't win. They really can't. We could spend a whole nother episode dissecting each of their games. It's obviously not good enough. They don't win enough battles. They don't compete hard enough in these situations. Like, it's very, very obvious when you put them up against the Florida Panthers in a game 7. It was so obvious. One team knew how to compete, knew how to battle. One team does it every single time. Another group of players do it when they kind of feel like it, or when things are going well, or when they kind of want to. That's very, very obvious. And that's something that needs to be addressed, for those 4 guys. Because Mitch Marner yelling at everybody, does he yell at somebody in just January on a Tuesday night when they're playing badly? Or does he not really care? We'll get him next time. Does Brad Marchand yell at someone on a Tuesday night in January when they're losing in a half-empty building in Florida? The answer is very obvious. Yes and no. There's one guy that does, and there's one guy that isn't. You can't flip it on and off. We all know that.
Yeah. And to touch on, I didn't see him yelling on the bench there. I missed that. But, and I'm not in the room. I don't know any of those players. So I don't know anything. But those guys in the room are going to know Mitch Marner. And if Mitch Marner's standing there screaming at him at game 7, if they know he really means it, they're going to know. But if they're like looking at him like, hey, enough with the act, like, we know who you are. If they're looking at it like that, then that probably didn't. That's
1,000,000%.
It was Mitch Marner yelling at him a game 7 when they're down 4.
Yeah, exactly. No, you see right through that. You see 100% right through that. And then when it comes to the game, but to your point, Kami, they got out of that first period somehow. I don't know how.
It was amazing.
And I'm thinking, like, wow, I'm going to sit here tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about the fact that the best team lost game 7. Florida Panthers should have won, but the big guys are going to come out in the second, and they're going to strike, and someone's going to make a play. They're going to get up 1-0. Then they're going to get a lucky one. They're going to be up 2-0, and Florida's not going to find their way. But, and it's a monster but at this point, it got worse somehow. As bad as that first period, it got worse. And as soon as Seth Jones rips it over Joe Wall's shoulder, it should have been 6-0. I don't know how they didn't allow that goal by Seth Jones. That should have been a goal.
Yeah, that was a goal.
Carlo makes a save, which was pulled out of his ass. That should have been 5-0. Like, it was awful. And then you got Biebs behind the bench wearing Florida Panthers colors. It was the worst possible night for a Toronto Maple Leaf. And now is the time you've got to make change. You just can't allow it. Just has to be changed. Has to.
I saw Bieber was there. He was in Florida Panther colors.
Oh, red jacket, white hat. It was beautiful. It was sunglasses.
What
he was.
planet is Bieber on right now?
Oh, you got to get Biebs on. Tuned up. Red jacket. The only guy in red in the entire building. It was priceless.
Well, I mean, there is a
I just
tariff
spat my
war going
coffee
on
out.
right now, so maybe he was trying to be more reflective of the Maple Leaf. But yeah, no, man, like the whole celebrity thing. I mean, look at how the Knicks respond. You've got every possible celebrity sitting courtside in New York, and they rip through the Boston Celtics with every possible celebrity and the pressure. There's a franchise that hasn't won in 50 years, and they're off to the conference finals in the NBA. But look, the first guy to me that needs to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs is Brendan Shanahan, right? The Shanahan plan, it's over, right? This guy's had an 11-year run, 3 general managers, right? Remember, there was Lou, right? Lou was the caretaker for Kyle Dubas. Dubas got the run. Kyle's out. Now you bring in, Treliving. I like the moves that Treliving's done. You've gone through 3 head coaches, right? You had Babs, your old boy there, Kami.
Yeah, my boy.
You had Babs. Then you had
He
Sheldon
tried.
Keefe. That didn't work. You brought in Craig Berube, right? Now what? At some point, like, look, we can talk about the core to death, right? They've had 9 years. It didn't work, right? The guys, when it matters most, you've got Mr. October. We've talked about it with Austin Matthews. One goal in that series against the Florida Panthers. The measuring stick, the team that won the Stanley Cup last year, that you played against, understanding this is what it's going to take to win, right? You had a chance to run it back. You had home ice advantage. 1 goal in 7 games. And then Mitch Marner, yes, 100-point season, but when it tightened up in that Florida series, where was Mitch Marner? 1 assist in games 5, 6, and 7 combined. Mr. October squared. Those guys were not clutch. So now you got to figure out what's next. And I think, Razor, you touched on this a few days ago, that those 2 guys, with Tavares being a pending UFA and Marner being a pending UFA, this may just sort itself out from a financial standpoint.
Yep.
But Brendan Shanahan has been insistent on keeping that group together. And it has not worked. Great run getting to the Stanley Cup playoffs 9 straight years. But man, this is just, you're banging your head against a wall year after year after year.
So I have the answer. And clear as day. And I'm telling you, if they pull this off, which they should do everything they can to pull this off, they win at least 2 rounds next year, if not 3.
Okay.
First, you fire the guy who got Justin Bieber tickets behind the bench. You fire that guy, get him out of the organization ASAP. That was poorly planned. Game 7. You can't have that guy anywhere near you.
Good start.
2, you let Marner and Tavares go, $20 million, and you sign Sam Bennett and you sign Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
Both unrestricted free agents. You give them whatever they want out of Florida. You put them in that team. You let them direct Austin Matthews. You let them direct William Nylander. They're winning next year.
Not bad.
I love it.
I like how
you know what's
sounds.
funny? I thought the
Brad
same
Marchand
thing last
playing
night,
for the
Razor. I'm glad you said that.
That would be interesting, seeing Marchand and Leafs colors. They've I never thought
change everything.
I've heard a lot of people are talking about the Bennett, but yeah, you get both those guys in there. Now they're going to have they're going to have to change. Something's got to change there as far as culture in the room or what goes on there, how you do things. I'm going to guess they're going to have their hands full changing, but those are 2 guys that are going to command a lot of respect as soon as they walk in the door.
Well, if you want to connect the dots, I mean, Treliving had Bennett, right, in Calgary.
Yeah.
I mean, so there is some familiarity with those 2.
Yep.
And then Marchand, it makes so much sense. And to hear him talking about things last night, man, there's also the breakup with Boston, Razor, and I'm sure you knows. You know Marchand better. But man, what a way to say screw you, Boston, then go to either Toronto or, dare I say, even Montreal potentially. But Toronto makes so much sense.
Yeah, and it's not so much a screw you, boss. It's just he knows that if he could be the guy to be the one to change. Imagine what he becomes in Canada. He loves Canada. He loves being Mr. Canada. He does. He really, it's in him, and he knows that he could fix that thing in Toronto, and he knows how many statues would be made of him if he goes. It makes too much sense.
It makes way
too much sense to have those 2 guys in this lineup. They win.
Attitude, man. Attitude. So let me throw this to both you guys then, because something Brad Marchand said after the series ended, talking about pressure and the pressure cooker that is Toronto and the pressure that playing in Canada. And I want it, both you guys, Kami, you played in Canada. You went to a Stanley Cup final. You went to a Game 7, right, as a team with the Calgary Flames. So you can speak to playing in Canada and the expectation of wanting to win and a rabid fan base. Razor, you played in Toronto. You were a goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That spotlight shines as intense as it probably gets in any sort of position in the hockey universe. Is there too much pressure to be playing in Canada or specifically Toronto? Razor, start with you on this one.
There is. I don't know if it's too much, whatever, but it's a lot. It's way more than being anywhere else. And, you know, I was in Vancouver too. Of course, I was carrying loose clubs then, but it was still different. We had a good team, so it wasn't as bad, but just off the ice and kind of the way the media portrays things, the way you have to deal with things on a daily basis, it's nonstop and it's always negative and it's 180 days. Just isn't anywhere else.
So where do you feel it? Like it's the questions every day?
No,
or this
is a perfect example. There was a night we beat the Rangers 7-1. Henrik Lundqvist in town, Saturday night, original 6, hockey night in Canada. We win 7-1. Okay. Blowout. I gave up 1 goal on 13 shots, I think it was. Like it was a nothing game. It was literally like Game 7 the other way.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm going to get up Sunday morning. I haven't read the paper in like months because this is before the internet. I'm going to go get the paper and just figure out what's going on in the world, in the sports world. Literally like 2 paragraphs into a section on the game the night before, Raycroft gave up a horrible goal in the first period and was not sharp at all. Like, what the? How did I just read that? We won 7-1 and that's a great, I think that's a good example of what you're always dealing with. And then I know I'm going to have to answer to that when I go to practice on Monday. Like it's just always something. And it's never really that positive. Like these guys have had it as positive it's ever been, and they still can't get over the hump. So it's just way more than everywhere else. And that scares a lot of free agents off. I've had a lot of conversation with guys over the years. I still do at times, with what's it like there? What's it really like? And it's hard to give a positive story.
But on the flip side, you go out on the day-to-day. I mean, man, I'm sure there were a lot of perks to the gig.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Lots of free meals, lots of free cars and free phones and all that stuff. But you have to really revel that and have to really live off of the attention, because if you just a guy who just likes a little bit of attention and not a lot, it's a bright light.
Okay, Kami, give me your perspective of playing in Canada.
Yeah, I enjoyed it first off, but I also I played in Calgary and I played in Ottawa. Calgary Flames fans think I was there for 4 or 5 years. I played 20 games and was there for playoff run.
It's not just Flames fans. I think a lot of people think it like, oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a great Flame. I'm like, yeah, 20 games, 18 actually in the regular season. So I wasn't there long, and when I was there long, when I was playing, we had just made the playoff. The expectations were so low. The Flames hadn't made the playoffs since 97. Now it's 2004, and the expectations were low, but we were grinding. We were a tough team, and we make the playoffs. It was house money. Then we go on this run, So we were kings. So there was no. If there was anything negative going, first off, I never read that stuff anyways. But everything was going great when I was in Calgary, and then I was gone. In Ottawa, it was a little bit different in that, the Sens went to the finals the year before. The year I got traded there at the deadline, they were the best team in the league by a country mile. The first half of the game, first half of the season, and literally the second half, they were one of the worst. Could not defend. I don't know what happened. Well, I knew we couldn't defend. It was a joke. We were pretty bad in our own end. So I got a little bit of it there, but I wasn't there long. But I don't know. For me, it was just, now that Ottawa's not Toronto, I get it. And when I first got there in Ottawa, this was kind of a big trade. It's sort of a little bit for me anyways. And there was negativity. And I just approached, I was like, you know what? I'm going to answer these questions. I'm going to be as honest as I can. And whatever, and go with that. And I think the reporters and stuff appreciated that, and it made things a little bit easier. But like I said, I wasn't there very long. But I will say, from talking to guys like Razor just touched on, and I can bring. He wouldn't mind if I brought his name up, but Ken Holland, who just got done being the GM in Edmonton for 5 years, and he loved it up there. He's Canadian. He loves the pressure and that people care. I think what got to him a little bit was just like, it was just constant negativity, and he thought that, like, I'm sure not all the media members, but it was constantly, didn't matter what was going on, somebody's looking for a negative angle on it, and it's all the time. And I think that got a little tiresome for him.
No, that's what it is. The issue is it isn't so much the whips you get. It's the fact you never truly get a pat on the back. Like you really don't. Like, even when you're good, someone's out there to get you. And it really does wear on your psyche over a few years. Like, and again, I know this team. You can see the mindset this Leafs has, that they get away from Toronto and they play good and they come back home and they're just all looking further out. And it's just, they probably didn't get enough pat on the back after game 6, or they know it doesn't matter what we do in game 6, because if we lose game 7, it's irrelevant and everyone's going to shit on us. And it's just, that's exactly what, like talking about Ken, it's kind of how it is. It's even when you win 1-0 as a goalie, or your team wins 10 in a row, it's not positive when you have to talk about your team. It's still, well, can you do this in the playoffs? Or, well, can you do this then? Or what, it's always something.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing, I don't know if it's much different. Obviously you have the volume in terms of bodies. It's the center of the media universe from a Canadian standpoint in Toronto. But the other thing is the Jays and the Raptors have become big enough that they provide a bit of a distraction. Where in the other markets across the country, I mean, there's no distraction, right? Like, the Canucks are kind of a one-trick pony in Vancouver, right? Like, the Whitecaps and the Lions aren't making enough noise. Like, same as Edmonton, same as Calgary, right? Same as Winnipeg, Montreal. I mean, there's no Expos anymore, right? And so, like, there's expectations right across the board. But once again, I mean, the Leafs fail again. And here we are. I mean, we've had this conversation year after year after year. But this time, beyond just coaches and managers, something else needs to change. And I think you've run it back with the same core time after time. And I think there's enough of a body of evidence to say this isn't working anymore, right? You're getting to the playoffs, but is the goal to just get in? Or are you trying to ultimately win a Stanley Cup? We got a lot more still to come right here on the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by BODOG. All right, so we're down to the final 4 in the conference finals, right? And man, just some fantastic rounds that we've seen through the first 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But now Western Conference Final. Boy, we've never seen this series before. Edmonton, Dallas. Wow.
First time.
First time ever. And you know what? Now it's also starting to become a familiar one with Florida and Carolina. So why don't we start in the West? Because, help me, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. Or in this particular case, from a Canadian hockey fan standpoint, if you're a nationalist, well, the Edmonton Oilers, help us, Edmonton. You're our only hope to end this 32-year Stanley Cup drought here on this side of the border. Let's go. Edmonton, Dallas. Connie, I think you and I were both saying, like, the Oilers are the team to beat right now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Are you sticking with that?
No, I'm not, but I don't feel good about it. The Oilers, I think.
I like your honesty.
I'll be. The Oilers look awesome. Darnell Nurse is staying on his feet, and I never thought I'd say it. He is looking good, and I love it. I think that's great. But I'm going to go with Dallas. I'm going to take Dallas in 7. I don't like it. I mean, Dallas is going to have their hands full. I think last year Dallas had the better team for sure, and the Oilers got through them, and I know that they weren't happy about that up top. Like, it just felt like one got away, an opportunity got away. So I'm going to take the Stars in 7, but in the confidence level, not extremely high. I'll be honest about that.
No, this is going to be a tight series. Yeah,
I don't feel good by picking against McDavid and Draisaitl. I really don't at this point. But I've had Dallas at the start. I think especially now with the way that Rantanen, I had him going into the playoffs, and now watching what Rantanen's doing, it seems like a no-brainer to me that, and Heiskanen coming back, man, you look good in Game 7. Like, they're going to be able to go back to 6D and let him play 30 minutes a night right out of the gates in Game 1, a couple extra days rest. I just think there's too much there for the Edmonton Oilers. And again, that goes against betting against McDavid and Draisaitl just because of what they've done. But I think this is just Dallas's year, and Rantanen and that finish line, the way they've played. It'll be a tight series. Wouldn't put my entire life savings on it, but I'm picking Dallas. I think they're the better team.
Yeah, I could see that pick coming based on what you're wearing here today there, Razor.
What, my sweater?
Oh, what did we get? Yeah, the American flag. There we go.
I just pulled it out of the closet.
Yeah, whatever.
Not a Canadian one, probably somewhere too.
Look, I there's everything. You look at that roster construct of what Jim Nill has done with Dallas, right? And the generations, right? Like Ben and Seguin are still effective. And you look at the next wave, Robertson and Heiskanen and Ottinger and Rupe Hintz, and then Rantanen comes in and has just been absolutely electric. And saying all that, I am not going against what the Oilers are doing. And I can't believe, again, I said this last week, what I've seen from Edmonton over the last 3 weeks, they flipped the switch, winning 8 of 9. And I think that team understands what it takes to get to Game 7 of that stand. They were down 3-0 against the Florida Panthers last year and forced a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup. They came up short. I think this team knows. And man, this supporting cast has proven to be way, way better this time around compared to McDavid and Draisaitl basically carrying 20 other guys. Give me Edmonton. I think it's going to be a tight series. Again, I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but give me the Oilers. I just, something feels, in my opinion, that they are not going to be denied this time around. And look, in the history of hockey, the greats always find a way, right? Whether it's Rocket Richard, whether it's Jean Beliveau, Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe, Gretzky, Sid's done it, Mario's done it, and McDavid's in that same conversation, just how good a player he is. I just think we're going to see an image of 97 hoisting that Stanley Cup, and it feels like they're going to the Cup this year again. They're going back. I think they understand what it takes, and so give me the Oilers to knock off the Dallas Stars in what should be a fantastic series between these two. All right, what about in the East?
Oh, well, I don't feel good about this one either, to be brutally honest, but I'm going to go with the Canes in 7. I'm going, God, Florida looks good though. I mean, they look great, but I got to make a business decision here a little bit too. I'm going to take the Canes in 7. When they've met up before, it's probably the most agitated I've ever seen, Rod, when Florida swept Carolina, but the games were it was crazy tight. Every goal was a one-goal game, massive OT games,
triple overtime,
yeah. And Rod, got in front of the mic after, and he was agitated, that wasn't a sweep. And I'm watching, I'm like, well, Rod, I mean, they won 4 games and you won 0. That's literally a sweep. But I got what he was saying. I mean, the Canes look great. They're deep. I'll take the Canes, but not betting much on that either. But I'll go Canes in 7.
It's not going to be a sweep this time. I think Carolina's more prepared. I think they've just got maybe a little bit more scoring than they did last time. But until Florida gets knocked out, I'm picking them to win every series they play. Until I see it, because again, the way they dominated 5 and 7 against a good Leafs team, against a team that can strike and score and offensive. Carolina almost fits them, their style of play better, the Florida Panthers, because they don't have to worry about a Matthews getting a breakaway or a Nylander or breaking. It's going to be tighter. And Kami, we've talked about it a million times. The man-on-man is so hard against Florida. The way they play in zone, offensive zone, that man-on-man is going to be tested. And I think Florida finds a way, and let's say 6, later in the series. But Florida, I'm picking them until they lose.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll go with the W. Let's go with the Florida Panthers in this one. Kami, I totally understand why you would take the Canes, and they're obviously playing.
They're
really
a good
well.
team.
10
And they're
games.
gonna be hard to play.
I mean, 8-2 in
Yeah.
10 playoff games so far, and the fact that you also want to be continually invited to those Carolina alumni games, I get it.
Well,
But-
what I'm taking the Canes because if they make the final, maybe
Yeah,
the Canes will
you got
pay for
tripped.
me to come out there and crank that horn again.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, there we go.
Sick.
Yeah, you got 2 weeks to grow your hair out then for that. All right,
Hey,
come
it's
on,
going.
get that big red fro
It's got a
going
little
again.
volume now. I'm ready.
By the way, just quickly, if you're wondering on Bodog, Canes paying plus 110 right now for this series. Panthers minus 130, while in the West, the Oilers minus 120, and the Stars even money in those conference finals. So should be good. But there you go. I think we are split on both those series right now, and just telling you that it should be an absolutely fantastic stretch of hockey here over the next couple of weeks with these conference finals as we inch closer to the quest for Lord Stanley's mug. Don't Puck It Up is next right here on the Clearing the Crease podcast. Some final thoughts here as we bring home this edition of the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by BODOG, Razor, Kami, Sabalski, and time for Don't Puck It Up. Kami, where do you want to go on this one?
I'm going to keep it out west since I'm out west. We just made our picks. I'm going to go Don't Puck It Up, Dallas. One guy, I like seeing veteran guys win, get to the finals. Not saying that Edmonton doesn't have that. They do. But, a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, who's been a great player for a long, long time. He's a great dude, and I love how he plays, Jamie Benn. He's been around a long time. Dallas the whole time. Don't puck this up, Dallas. You pucked it up a little bit last year. You had the better team. You let one get away. The Oilers got through you. This year, the Oilers look better, but you got home ice advantage. Don't puck it up. Get yourselves to the finals.
There you go. Razor.
Very simple for me. Don't puck it up, Toronto Maple Leafs. One, fire the guy who gave Bieber tickets. Never give Bieber tickets again. That's secondary to my main don't puck it up point. Sign Brad Marchand and or Sam Bennett. You need at least one, if not both of those guys over the summer. Change the way this team looked. They're very close. They need something to go over the hump. It's Bennett and or Marchand. Don't puck it up, Toronto.
And does Drake get a kick in the for putting $1 million on?
Yeah, you can do that to him too.
Yeah, I think the Leafs need to keep the celebrities out of the building in a way. They got the Drake curse going. Buddy last night before the game sent me a little picture of a tweet that Drake had bet $1 million on the Leafs. Yeah. I'm like, time to load up on Florida and turn up 6-1 Panthers.
Yeah, I smell another Kendrick Lamar song ready to drop at Drake's expense on that. I'm going to say this. Don't puck it up. Ottawa Charge of the PWHL. We are at the finals right now, the Professional Women's Hockey League, and Gwyneth Phillips is on a heater right now between the pipes. My hometown city I was raised in, great to see. The fan base has come alive, but man, what Gwyneth Phillips is doing between the pipes right now, a story really coming out of nowhere for this team and just really carrying this team now to the finals against Minnesota. Ottawa Charge, don't puck it up.
I like that. That's a good one. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm fired up, man. There's just a lot of great hockey going on right now. I mean, and then you got the NBA playoffs happening right now. And, you just had the PGA championship that wrapped up. And shout out to Scotty Scheffler. Kami, I don't know. Did you make any money on that?
No, I didn't. No, I went with, I do these little pools and stuff like that. One and done. I took, I used the live guys. So I picked the Shambo and I don't even like them. But yeah, that Scheffler. And I picked Rory. I thought Rory was going to kind of play a little bit better, but that's Scotty Scheffler. I mean, he gets talked about a lot down here and a lot in Canada as well. That guy is unreal. Like when he has a lead, which he does a lot. I mean, the show's over. He bogeys a couple holes. It's like, oh, there's a crack. And then it's back with a couple birdies, wins by 5. It's incredible.
Yeah, you got journalism all of a sudden alive and well with the Preakness. And so all of this is happening. Yeah.
We got smoked at the Preakness. Took Clever again, the 8 horse. It was the speed horse out in the lead. This was right before the Jets game. I was at Moxie's. I spent the full weekend at Moxie's.
I hope your bills are covered for Moxie after
I'm
all
like,
this.
all right, I'm looking good. And then it basically gets assaulted around the last turn. Jockey pulls up dead last.
Wow.
Somebody
might say that wasn't very clever, Kami.
No, it wasn't very clever.
Okay, see what I did
It wasn't
there?
very clever. I got it.
Hey, the fun thing about all of this that we're just talking about, what a time to be a sports fan. You can play on all of it, courtesy of our friends over at BODOG. And on that note, we will say goodbye for this edition of the Clearing the Crease podcast, powered by BODOG. See you.